The quiet restlessness that lingers in so many hearts today does not come from the lack of effort, but from the deep sensation that something essential remains out of alignment. You might work hard, follow routines, and even speak words of encouragement to yourself, yet still feel a quiet dissonance between who you are and the life you long to live. This dissonance is not failure, nor is it proof of inadequacy. It is instead a gentle signal from your inner self and from the universe itself, reminding you that life begins to transform only when your frequency rises and your alignment with the greater flow becomes steady and conscious. Imagine for a moment that every thought, every breath, every emotional undercurrent is like a note in a symphony. When these notes are scattered or off-key, the music of your life feels confusing, disjointed, even painful. But when you begin to attune your inner world, when the mind, the body, and the spirit breathe in unison, the melody shifts. What once felt like noise becomes harmony, and that harmony begins to attract experiences, people, and opportunities that resonate with your renewed vibration. This is not mere metaphor, it is the lived reality of those who commit to the practice of inner alignment. The theme we are exploring in this journey, how to elevate your frequency and use alignment with the universe to multiply real opportunities, goes far beyond positive thinking or surface-level motivation. It is an invitation to step into the role of co-creator, to no longer see yourself as a bystander waiting for chance, but as an active participant shaping reality through the energy you carry. The practices we will unfold together are designed not to overwhelm you with complexity, but to guide you back into the simplicity of presence, gratitude, and clarity of intention. Throughout this exploration, I will ask you to pause and reflect on your own inner landscape. Where does heaviness linger in your body? Which memories rise when you think of loss, fear, or disconnection? Rather than pushing them aside, we will honor them, because the very act of acknowledgement is the first step in transforming energy. In giving voice to your inner silence, you create space for a new resonance, one that calls forth opportunities not by force, but by the natural pull of alignment. As you move forward in this video, know that nothing within you is broken. You are not beginning from emptiness, but from a place of incredible potential. By learning to elevate your frequency and live in harmony with the universal flow, you will begin to witness a shift, moments of synchronicity appearing with greater clarity, doors opening where once there were walls, and the quiet recognition that the life you thought was far away has been reaching for you all along. This introduction is only the first step into a deeper journey, one that will not only expand your understanding, but invite you into daily practices that weave transformation into the very fabric of your being. There is a moment in every life when a quiet recognition begins to stir, a realization that what has been pursued with effort alone is not enough to open the doors that truly matter. This realization does not arrive with noise or drama. It often comes in silence, in the stillness of a late night when sleep refuses to arrive, or in the pause between tasks when your heart feels the weight of a life that seems misaligned. This recognition is the seed of transformation, the invitation to step into a different rhythm where inner frequency and universal flow intertwine. To speak of frequency is not to reduce life to mechanical vibrations, but to describe the quality of your inner presence, the subtle current that shapes the way you meet the world. Your frequency is the atmosphere you carry, a blend of thoughts, emotions, and intentions that radiate outward and subtly influence the opportunities that find you. When the frequency is heavy with fear, resentment, or scarcity, it is as though the field around you becomes dense, pushing away the very experiences you long for. Yet when the frequency is elevated through clarity, gratitude, and trust, the field opens, drawing toward you encounters that feel almost predestined. This alignment with the universe is not passive. It is not the surrender of responsibility, but the weaving together of personal intention and universal intelligence. The universe does not operate on demands. It responds to resonance. Imagine for a moment a tuning fork struck in a quiet room. The sound carries, and nearby strings tuned to the same pitch begin to vibrate in harmony. In much the same way, your elevated state of being becomes a call that opportunities cannot ignore. They move toward you, not as gifts handed from nowhere, but as natural consequences of the energy you now embody. For many, the difficulty lies in sustaining this elevated frequency in the face of daily challenges. The demands of work, relationships, and unresolved wounds often pull the inner state back into contraction. This is where practice becomes essential. The journey is not about perfection. It is about cultivating rituals of reconnection. Each morning, the way you awaken sets the tone of your frequency. Instead of reaching first for distractions, imagine beginning with 3 minutes of silence, breathing slowly until your body softens and your thoughts begin to loosen. In those minutes, you are no longer chasing the day. You are attuning yourself to the rhythm of the universe. As this practice becomes familiar, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Conversations that once felt draining now reveal hidden layers of meaning. Encounters that seemed ordinary carry a spark of synchronicity. Even delays and interruptions, instead of fueling irritation, appear as hidden alignments guiding you towards something unseen. This is not imagination at play, it is perception awakening, the mind clearing enough static to hear the quiet signals that were always present. Still, doubts will arise. There will be mornings when your heart feels heavy, when disappointment whispers that all of this is in vain. These moments are not evidence of failure, they are thresholds. To elevate your frequency is not to deny pain or suppress fear, but to allow them to pass through without becoming the definition of your state. The act of acknowledgement itself transforms them. When you place your hand on your chest and breathe with gentleness into the ache, you are teaching your body that even pain can exist within a field of compassion. This act of kindness toward yourself is alignment in its purest form. It is important to remember that opportunities do not always arrive in the form you expect. Sometimes they appear as endings, clearing space for what has been waiting. Sometimes they show up as challenges, pressing you to expand into a version of yourself you would not have chosen otherwise. In all of these forms, the universe is consistent. It mirrors the frequency you sustain. If you hold resentment, it returns friction. If you hold openness, it returns flow. The lesson is never punishment. It is always reflection. Over time, this way of living becomes less about effort and more about rhythm. You no longer ask, "When will it happen?" because you begin to see that it is happening now, in each small alignment, in each choice to remain present instead of reactive. The multiplication of opportunities becomes natural, not because the universe suddenly favors you, but because you have stepped into harmony with what was always available. The silence that once felt empty becomes filled with subtle guidance, and the path that once seemed hidden begins to unfold with steady clarity. To elevate your frequency is to choose presence over distraction, trust over control, and openness over fear. To align with the universe is to step into a dance that has been waiting for you since the beginning, a dance where every step you take is mirrored by a step from the infinite. And in this meeting, opportunities cease to be rare accidents and become the natural expression of a life lived in resonance. There are seasons in life when it feels as if every effort ends in silence, when prayers seem unanswered and doors remain closed despite the intensity of your longing. In these seasons, many people interpret the stillness as rejection, a sign that the universe is deaf to their needs. Yet if one listens carefully beneath the surface of the frustration, a subtler truth emerges. The universe is not denying you. It is waiting for you to attune yourself to its rhythm. It is not absence but invitation. The silence is not punishment. It is a mirror reflecting the state of your own vibration. To understand this mirror, you must first recognize the patterns of energy you carry daily. These patterns are not only formed by the conscious thoughts you speak aloud, but also by the unspoken stories that repeat in the background of your mind. Stories of scarcity, fear, or inadequacy quietly program your frequency, shaping how you move through the world. When opportunities appear, you may not notice them, or you may dismiss them as too good to be true. The energy of disbelief repels what you secretly desire, not because you are unworthy, but because the frequency you hold is not yet aligned with the reality you want to experience. Shifting this narrative requires both tenderness and persistence. It is not about forcing yourself into constant positivity, for such an effort becomes another form of self-denial. Instead, it is about gradually cultivating states of awareness where your body, mind, and spirit are no longer at war with one another. This cultivation begins with presence. By pausing in the midst of your routine and anchoring yourself in the sensation of breath, you remind your nervous system that safety exists here, in this very moment. With each breath, the grip of old stories loosens slightly, making room for new interpretations of reality to take root. Consider how often we mistake urgency for importance. When anxiety whispers that time is running out, we rush into actions that are not aligned, scattering our energy and reinforcing the belief that nothing ever works. But when you elevate your frequency, urgency softens into clarity. You begin to sense that the right actions do not drain you, they carry a current of flow. Alignment with the universe does not mean the absence of effort, but the presence of effort that feels alive, meaningful, and deeply connected. You are no longer swimming against the current. You are allowing the current to guide you. In this state, opportunities no longer appear as isolated events. They emerge as extensions of your elevated vibration, as natural outcomes of the energy you hold. Imagine a garden tended with care. The soil is nourished, the weeds are cleared, and the seeds are planted with intention. In time, the blossoms do not arrive as surprises, but as expected fruit. The same is true of alignment. When you nourish your inner soil with gratitude, with compassionate awareness, and with practices that keep you steady, the flowers of opportunity rise almost inevitably. Skepticism may linger, and that is natural. You may ask, why then have I tried before and seen no change? The answer is often found in consistency. A single day of meditation, a single affirmation, or a fleeting moment of gratitude cannot undo years of ingrained patterns. The body requires repetition, the mind requires gentleness, and the spirit requires trust. Consistency is the language through which the universe learns to recognize your sincerity. When you show up for your own alignment each day, you are declaring to life itself, I am ready, I am here, I am willing to resonate with what I desire. As your inner state steadies, you will notice that opportunities do not always announce themselves with grandeur. Sometimes they arrive quietly, in the form of a casual conversation, a suggestion from a stranger, or an idea that seems too simple to matter. Yet these are often the doorways to transformation. Elevated frequency sharpens your awareness so that you no longer overlook these subtle openings. Where once you dismissed them, now you lean in with curiosity, and in that leaning, life expands. It is also essential to acknowledge the role of letting go. Alignment does not mean clinging tightly to a specific outcome, but trusting that the universe understands the depth of your desire and can deliver it in forms beyond your imagination. Often what blocks opportunities is not lack of intention, but attachment to how the result must appear. By loosening this grip, you free the universe to respond with creativity, presenting paths that you could not have orchestrated on your own. This surrender is not passivity. It is the highest form of collaboration. The more you embody this rhythm, the more natural it becomes. Instead of asking constantly when life will change, you begin to notice that it is already changing. The restlessness fades as you witness synchronicities multiplying, meeting the right person at the right time, discovering resources precisely when they are needed, or feeling a deep inner knowing guiding your next step. These are not coincidences. They are the signature of alignment. They are the evidence that your elevated frequency has become not a temporary state, but a way of being. By allowing yourself to trust this process, by nurturing your inner soil with daily presence and compassionate awareness, you begin to move through life as if carried by an unseen current. The struggles that once consumed you no longer hold the same weight, because you know that every experience, even the difficult ones, is part of your alignment. The universe is not distant nor indifferent. It is closer than your own breath, waiting to respond to the resonance you choose to embody. There are times when life feels like a corridor of closed doors, when every step forward seems to echo with the weight of rejection or delay. In these moments, it is natural to wonder if something has gone terribly wrong, if destiny itself has turned away. Yet what appears as resistance often conceals a deeper invitation, the opportunity to step beyond old patterns and attune to a higher rhythm of existence. The universe, in its quiet wisdom, does not rush you. It waits for the frequency of your being to match the reality you are seeking. To elevate your frequency in such moments is not about pushing harder or performing acts of forced positivity. It is about recognizing the subtle ways you have become entangled with patterns of contraction. Fear, disappointment, and doubt form loops of energy that the body stores as tension, the mind repeats as stories, and the spirit experiences as disconnection. These loops are not your true essence, yet they can shape your days as if they were. The work of alignment begins with acknowledging these patterns without judgment, holding them as one holds a child who has wandered astray. In recognition, you begin the process of release. The alignment you seek is not a fixed state but a living dialogue. It is the rhythm of your breath matching the pulse of the moment, the way your thoughts begin to soften when met with presence, the way your body loosens its grip when you allow stillness to settle. This dialogue becomes the bridge through which opportunities travel. They do not arrive by accident. They are drawn to the resonance of a life that is no longer fragmented. Imagine the sky reflecting in a calm lake. Only when the waters are steady does the reflection become clear. As this steadiness grows within you, perception itself begins to transform. What once appeared as chance now reveals itself as synchronicity. You notice how a single conversation carries the seed of a new direction, how a delayed encounter leads you to the exact place you needed to be, how even endings carry within them the quiet whisper of beginnings. This shift in perception is the fruit of elevated frequency. It is the capacity to see the hidden order in what once felt chaotic. The universe has not changed its nature. It is your alignment that has unveiled its pattern. Yet alignment is not maintained by accident. It asks of you a daily return to presence. It asks for rituals that bring coherence to the body, clarity to the mind, and gentleness to the heart. These rituals need not be elaborate. Sometimes it is enough to pause in silence before speaking, to breathe deeply before deciding, to place your attention on gratitude, even in the smallest detail. Such acts, though simple, recalibrate the field of your being. With each recalibration, you rise closer to the frequency where opportunities are not scarce treasures, but abundant companions. It is also essential to embrace the paradox of surrender and intention. Elevating your frequency requires intention, the conscious choice to hold states of clarity and gratitude, but it equally requires surrender, the willingness to release rigid expectations about how life must unfold. Too often, desire becomes entangled with control, and in grasping too tightly, you stifle the flow of what could have been. Alignment teaches you to hold intention like a lantern in the night, firm enough to light the path, soft enough to let the wind guide its glow. Within this paradox lies freedom. When you surrender control without abandoning intention, you allow the universe to respond with creativity. Opportunities begin to arrive in forms you never scripted: an unexpected ally, a sudden shift in circumstances, a door opening in a place you had overlooked. These moments are not luck. They are the natural expression of resonance. Your elevated frequency becomes the silent language through which the universe converses with you. Over time, you begin to understand that every experience, whether welcome or difficult, participates in the orchestration of alignment. Pain is not an interruption but a refinement. Loss is not abandonment, but space for renewal. Even confusion has its place, for it loosens the rigidity of old certainties, making way for deeper wisdom. To elevate your frequency is to live with this trust, that nothing is wasted, that everything is a note in the larger symphony of your becoming. As you inhabit this trust, the multiplication of opportunities becomes inevitable. They gather around you not because you force them, but because your very presence has become fertile ground. People are drawn to the clarity you radiate, doors open because you no longer resist their timing, and life itself seems eager to collaborate with you. What once felt like isolated flashes of fortune now flows as a steady current. The universe, attuned to your elevated frequency, becomes less of a mystery and more of a companion. In this way, alignment is not a distant goal but a living practice. Renewed each day by presence, gratitude, and surrender, it is the art of listening to the subtle currents beneath the noise, of choosing resonance over resistance, of allowing your being to reflect the vast harmony of existence. And in this art, you discover not only the power to multiply opportunities, but the deeper truth that you were never separate from the universe to begin with. You were always a part of its unfolding, and now through alignment you remember the melody you were born to play. There comes a moment in the journey of transformation when you begin to sense that alignment is not something external to be achieved, but a truth already alive within you. The more you release the compulsion to control, the more you notice that life itself has been guiding you through every twist, even the ones that once felt like detours. Elevating your frequency is not about constructing a new identity or escaping from who you are. It is about uncovering the clarity that has been buried beneath layers of fear, conditioning, and distraction. This chapter deepens the recognition that alignment with the universe is not a task to be completed, but a relationship to be nurtured, a relationship that multiplies opportunities because it is rooted in authenticity. Every human being carries within them the memory of harmony. It might appear as a fleeting moment when you felt at peace in nature, or when a simple act of kindness dissolved your worries, or when silence itself wrapped around you with an inexplicable sense of belonging. These moments are not random. They are glimpses of the frequency you are capable of sustaining. The challenge is not to reach for something entirely new, but to create conditions in which this memory can become a living state. Like tuning an instrument that has drifted slightly out of key, the process is one of subtle adjustments, rather than dramatic overhauls. As you attune yourself, you begin to notice the role of intention more clearly. Intention is not mere wishing. It is the quiet clarity of knowing where your energy is directed. When your intentions are scattered or fueled by fear, your frequency becomes fragmented, and the universe reflects that fragmentation back to you. But when your intention is grounded in alignment, when it rises not from desperation but from trust, you emit a signal that is coherent. This coherence is what draws opportunities toward you. They recognize your clarity in the same way a magnet recognizes metal. Opportunities are not always linear rewards for effort. They often appear in waves, in seasons. Some seasons bring abundance, connection and clarity with apparent ease. Others bring pauses, challenges, or the need for solitude. To elevate your frequency is to learn to dance with these seasons without losing your rhythm. In moments of abundance, gratitude expands your capacity to receive. In moments of challenge, presence expands your capacity to endure. Both are forms of alignment, and both multiply opportunities, not by quantity alone, but by depth and meaning. It is easy to believe that opportunities are rare, that only a select few are fortunate enough to encounter them. But this belief arises from a frequency of scarcity, a lens that notices only absence. When you elevate your frequency, scarcity loosens its hold, and you begin to see opportunities in places you once overlooked. A conversation with a stranger, a book that seems to fall into your hands, a delay that redirects your path. These ordinary events become extraordinary when viewed through the lens of alignment. The truth is that opportunities are abundant, but their recognition requires the eyes of resonance. Trust becomes a central element here. Without trust, even the most aligned frequency collapses under the weight of constant questioning. Trust is not blind faith. It is the willingness to live as though the universe is responsive and benevolent, even when evidence seems scarce. Each act of trust strengthens the bridge between your intention and its manifestation. With time, you begin to see patterns, how each moment of surrender, each choice to remain aligned rather than reactive, leads to outcomes more meaningful than anything you could have orchestrated alone. This recognition transforms trust from a fragile hope into a lived certainty. The multiplication of opportunities does not mean living a life free of obstacles. In truth, some of the most significant opportunities arrive disguised as challenges. A setback may redirect you toward a greater possibility. A loss may strip away what no longer serves you, creating space for something more authentic. To live in alignment is to recognize the hidden blessings woven into the fabric of difficulty. From this perspective, no experience is wasted. Every event becomes part of the choreography of resonance. In this way, life ceases to feel like a series of random events. Instead, it begins to resemble a dialogue. You send out your frequency through thoughts, emotions, and intentions, and the universe responds with reflections in the form of experiences. The more coherent your frequency, the clearer the responses become. Misalignment is not failure. It is feedback, a gentle nudge to return to presence. Each moment offers the choice. Will you lower your frequency into fear and contraction, or will you elevate it into trust and openness? Over and over, the invitation remains. As this way of living deepens, opportunities multiply not only in number, but in quality. They align with your essence rather than your surface desires. They resonate with your soul rather than your fears. And in recognizing them, you step into a rhythm where your life feels less like a struggle to survive and more like a canvas upon which creation flows effortlessly. This is the power of alignment. It transforms life from randomness into resonance, from scarcity into abundance, from disconnection into communion. Through elevating your frequency and aligning with the universe, you remember what has always been true, that you are not separate from the flow of life but part of its very heartbeat. Opportunities are not withheld from you, they are waiting in the resonance of your alignment. As you continue this journey, know that each breath, each act of presence, and each gesture of trust is weaving you into the greater harmony. And within that harmony, life itself becomes the opportunity you are always seeking. As we come to the closing movement of this journey, it becomes clear that elevating your frequency and aligning with the universe is not a distant aspiration, but a present reality, always within reach. The path is not about striving for perfection or eliminating every shadow, but about allowing light and shadow to coexist within a greater harmony. The universe does not ask you to abandon your humanity. It invites you to embrace it fully, to feel deeply, and to return each time to presence and trust. Every thought you nurture, every emotion you honor, and every breath you take in awareness becomes part of the frequency you radiate. This frequency is the silent language by which the universe recognizes you, responds to you, and collaborates with you. When you allow your inner state to reflect clarity, gratitude, and openness, life begins to mirror these qualities back in the form of synchronicities, opportunities, and connections that feel almost inevitable. The truth is simple yet profound. You were never disconnected from the flow of life. Every season, even the painful ones, has been guiding you toward this recognition. To align with the universe is not to escape challenges, but to meet them with a frequency that transforms struggle into growth and uncertainty into trust. It is to walk through life no longer asking when the opportunity will come, but realizing that each moment in its fullness is already an opportunity waiting to be embraced. Let this not be the end, but the continuation of your journey, a journey where you remember daily that you are not merely surviving within the universe, but co-creating with it. By elevating your frequency and stepping into alignment, you awaken the truth that opportunities are not limited. They are abundant, multiplying endlessly in resonance with the depth of your being. Now I leave you with a question that has the power to reshape the way you see your own life. What frequency are you choosing to embody in this very moment, and how might the universe be waiting to respond to it? If this message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you can continue walking this path of growth, alignment, and transformation with us. Stay connected, because the journey is far richer when shared. And don't stop here. On the screen you'll find more videos waiting for you, each one a step deeper into the wisdom and practices that can guide your life into greater harmony and abundance. Continue watching, continue learning, and most of all, continue remembering that the universe is already speaking to you.